What up, guys? Welcome to the New American Dream Podcast. I'm your host, George Gibson. All right. I'm gonna calm it down. But yes, I'm extremely excited today because this kind of sums up like this whole entrepreneurship, small business world. This episode today really delivers. Like, this is probably one of the best episodes we ever had on the show, because it's not just about real estate. I'm biased real estate, but today we touch real estate, stocks, and just all kind of financial independency things. So sit back, relax, and the main thing I took away after this conversation is there's no one way to do anything. There's no one way to do anything. You have to walk to the beat of your drums. Figure out what is your happy place, what you do best, your gifts. And once you do that, all you have to do is learn about financial literacy and start including them habits in your daily life routine. But this is what I want you to sit back, relax. This will be an awesome show. And enough of me talking. Here go our latest guests, Allie and Josh. Yes. So I knew you guys did podcast before, so it's pretty much same style. What I was gonna say. The goal is basically to just tell your story, your journey, and as you tell your journey, you try to pick out different experiences people can learn from, the listeners.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. I got Allie and Josh, right? That's the name.
Yep.
Yeah,
You got it.
yeah.
Okay. And what I was gonna say, if you ever catch me looking down while you guys talking, it's not like I'm not listening. I got a lot of different questions this time, so normally I go to the same spiel. I tried to switch it up this time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ooh, awesome. Well, we're excited for it.
Sometimes like we'll have like a little pad of paper because like sometimes we'll try to remember like, oh man, what are the key things we want to talk about? So we I think we're pretty good for tonight, but sometimes you'll even see us looking down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I record the intro after we get started. I mean, not after we get started. I record the intro after we finish.
Okay.
Also, I just have to say I love that whiteboard behind you.
Yeah.
Josh has an obsession with whiteboards, and we have one about that size in our bedroom, and it's completely filled with like all of our different goals and different things. So it's funny to see that you have one too. That's awesome.
Now, you know the bad part about me though?
Yeah.
I can't never keep a good marker.
No.
Like right now, it's kind of faded and empty, but if I had a marker, it'll be full because I love seeing my goals every day. Like.
Absolutely.
So we started getting markers that has a little magnet in the back. So every time I'm done, I can just stick it to the whiteboard.
Yeah, see, because my son, he'll be marking on the bed and everything. It's crazy. Well, yeah. So, all right. Did you have any questions?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
No, we're super excited.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the show, Allie and Josh.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, thanks, George.
Yes. So, all right. Before we get started, tell the people who you are and what you're currently doing in life.
Yeah, so we are Josh and Allie Lupo. We on Instagram, we are the FiCouple. So we actually live in upstate New York. We're currently working towards financial independence in our 30s, and we're using real estate and the stock market to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So, all right, how did you guys grow up? Like, were you raised in New York?
We were both raised in New York. Josh grew up in upstate New York, and I was a little further downstate. And we actually met in college. We went to SUNY Oneonta, which is a state school in New York, and we met my junior year and Josh's senior year of college.
Yeah, we grew up very differently. I came from kind of like a more impoverished background. I think Allie kind of came from more of a middle class background. And when we first started dating and then we first started talking about money, We both kind of had some differences of opinions in terms of how to manage our finances because we hadn't really spent a lot of time learning about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we grew up in pretty different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Josh, so what did your parents do? What did they do when you were younger? I mean,
Yeah, so I grew up with a single mom, and she worked 2 or 3 different jobs at any given point in time. I have 2 siblings, so she always was working extra hours to make sure we had the things that we needed. And so that taught me at an early age the power of work ethic. So once I was old enough to start working and making my own money, I started doing that. And that's kind of how I grew up.
okay. What about you, Allie?
My mom always had this stable state job, which I think that was modeled for me. And now, not so coincidentally, I have this stable state job. So it's funny how our childhood impacts us. And my dad is a carpenter, and he actually built our family home. So like super skilled and handy in that way. But definitely different backgrounds for sure.
Yeah, it's always funny to see. So usually, Amy, you'll be teaching him about finances because maybe he didn't grow up with his parents talking about it. So it's kind of like you dragging, when you married, somebody's upper. So somebody's dragging somebody up, you know?
It's actually really funny how it worked out because when we first started dating, that's exactly what happened. We talked about finances in my household, not like a ton, but I felt like I had a much stronger foundation than Josh did. So I learned about like the importance of savings and like all of these things and paying down debt, etc. And when I met Josh, I mean, his financial position was not great. He wasn't making the best financial decisions. So I felt like we worked together to improve that. But then like once Josh kind of got started down that rabbit hole, he really took the lead and he became like, man, like he just went deep with, originally Dave Ramsey, but then later like Bigger Pockets and all of those different resources. So really like Josh took the lead once he really got into finances for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right, Josh, what was your first real job, like you would say, like maybe after college or in college?
Yeah, so growing up, like I said, once I turned, I think it was 15, I started working. So I worked for McDonald's for a long time. I was a dishwasher while I was working at McDonald's so I was riding my bike every day to get to work, and that helped me save up for my first car. So I got a car, and that then allowed me to work more so I could make more money. That pretty much, got me through high school, and then I got to college. And then at college, I worked in the dining halls so my background was kind of like food service.
Right.
So I worked in a bunch of the different dining halls to make extra money, and that kind of got me through college. I actually found another McDonald's in college, actually. And I worked there too, and basically just used that money to help pay for some of the bills during college.
Okay, but what was the first, like after working at McDonald's? I know McDonald's wasn't a real job. What was the job where you started like making real money?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like his career post-college?
Yeah, like post college. What's your like real first job to making real money?
Absolutely, yeah. So Allie and I, we went to college for the same thing. We're both in human services. So my first career full time outside of college was as a residential counselor in a group home for at-risk teen and young adults. So right in that 18 to 21-year-old age range.
That's a tough job. That's
Yep.
a really tough job.
So it was a group home for young adults basically who were having a tough time and needed a mentor. That's what I went to school for. And I was really grateful to have that job, especially when I first graduated, because I had a lot of student loan debt. But the job was, it was really, really hard, but it taught me a lot.
What are some of the skills you learned from that job that you still apply to today?
Yeah, so from that job, it taught me the ability to persevere because while I wasn't necessarily happy in that job when I first started, I learned to make the best of a tough situation. And so now, you fast forward to the present, Allie and I, once we kind of got married and we started talking about finances, we realized we had $100,000 in student loan debt. And we had to find a way to make the best of a tough situation and kind of think creatively. And I mean, I had to do that every single day as a group home counselor.
Wow. Jeez. So, Allie, if he's working more, I didn't say laid back, but somebody got to know the math. You get in stocks and real estate. Did you major in engineer? I said, did you major in engineering?
No. It's actually funny because often when you hear about folks that are in real estate or in, this field, it's usually like Silicon Valley dudes making high salaries, or engineers, or people kind of with that framework. Right. We are two human service professionals. While Josh was working in a group home, I was working in a domestic violence shelter, doing really hard work for that. And we are definitely not your stereotypical picture of real estate investors at all.
For some reason, like being called an FiCouple, I thought you both were like math magicians or something.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like.
Josh is very, very skilled at math, but it is definitely not what we went to school for.
Yeah, and actually, so because neither one of us came from really, really high income careers, and we had six figures in student loan debt, that was actually a reason we were both kind of looking at each other and like, we need to find something else. We need to think outside the box, because neither one of our careers are going to get us to help us pay off our student loans or get us to a lifestyle that we wanted. So that's kind of when I started trying to learn more about investing. And I kept hearing people talk about things like real estate, and neither one of us come from like a real estate background or anything like that. But I knew other successful people were using it, and they were using it to make more money, lower their cost of living. And so, we got married back in 2018. Neither one of us were making a lot of money. We had all that student loan debt. And so that's when I learned about that you could buy like a 2-family home, live in one unit and rent out the other unit. And, the other unit would pay for most of your living expenses. And as two people who weren't making a ton of money, instead of trying to make more money, we focused on how can we cut our bills.
And I think just to follow up on that, Josh and I are not what you would stereotype a real estate investing couple to be, just in terms of our backgrounds and all of that. But I think that's kind of what's cool about it, because when we were first getting started, I was like, look at these people that are investing in real estate. They either have a lot of money, or they have family that's involved in real estate, or whatever. We are not that, Josh. But what I've realized, especially through doing it, people that invest in real estate are not smarter than us. They don't have this secret magic formula. They're just doing it. Yep. They're just doing it. So you don't have to come from that background to be able to invest. You just have to be willing to take that risk.
Yeah. And I know one of the things, I believe you guys have paid off your student debt, or not yet?
No, not yet. We paid out about $62,000 in 2.5 years.
When we started our marriage, we had about 103, and we're right in that like 40,000 right now.
41,000 right now, and we bought 2 duplexes.
Yeah.
See, all right, now that's what I want to say. So people out here with large, even medical debt, student loan debt, what are some of the things you do? Because it's 2 main things you got to do to solve this problem. You got to budget and save. So what are some ways you budget, and what type of saving rate should a person be doing and when they're trying to pay off a large debt?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, once we started to actually learn how to budget and write down what are our income, what are our expenses, we realized that most of our expenses were in 3 categories. It was housing, so like rent, utilities, transportation. So we both had car payments at one point, plus insurance and gas. And then our food bill was actually pretty outrageous, because we were eating out as a young couple with no kids. We were eating out
we were going out for drinks, we were eating out, whatever.
So those are the 3 biggest areas of our budget and stuff. And so we were like, well, if we can cut out or drastically reduce those 3 things, that's going to free up a lot of money every single month that we can then use to start paying down debt.
And we first heard about this concept through Scott Trench's book, Set for Life, which if you haven't read it, it's an incredible book, right? So with that, it was kind of like when we first started budgeting, we thought that we needed to cut out like the Starbucks drink, or, the little snack that I'd get at the store. We cut out those little tiny things that were maybe like giving us joy. Like I like getting a drink every now and again. But by house hacking and buying real estate, we were able to completely get rid of our housing costs, not get rid, but we cut it in half. At this point, we've gotten rid of it. But by reducing our cost of living through housing, transportation, and food, those were the biggest line items in our budget. So we didn't have to worry as much about the $1 or $5 expenses because we were taking care of the $1,000, $100 expenses.
And so in terms of like a savings rate, before we bought our first house hack back in 2018, I think maybe we're saving like 20%, and that's ambitious. We probably were saving even less than that.
Less.
But once we got that first house hack instantly, and we got rid of our 2 car payments, our savings rate ran up to like 55, almost 60%, which for us, again, that was a lot of money and it was after tax income that was now back in our pockets that we could then use to aggressively start paying off debt.
Wow, that was perfect explanation of how to pay off large debt. I mean, and the one thing you can't teach is being disciplined, I believe. Like everybody has to figure out their why so they can be disciplined. Like, all right, we're not gonna go to Chick-fil-A every day. We're gonna cook, Yeah. So, okay, what are some of the they paid off their debt, now they're thinking about starting investing. What is like a beginner's investment you would think to start out with?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, like we bought a bunch of real estate, but a lot of that wasn't necessarily because we were in love with real estate. It was more so we needed to find a way to lower our housing expense. So if a person didn't have any debt, and maybe they had that emergency fund all set up and they were really getting involved and they wanted to find what's a simple way to get started. So along with real estate, we also invest in the stock market. We specifically, though, we use what's called an index fund. So instead of trying to pick the perfect stocks and figure out which ones are going to go up or which ones are going to go down, we buy index funds, which are really just like a basket of all the stocks in the entire United States economy. And all you have to do is just consistently put money into that. And over time, through compound interest, that money is going to go up. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to spend a ton of time figuring it out. It's a safe way to get started investing.
Yes. And right now, like we have a group text message about the stock market with my homeboys. And I haven't really got into the stocks yet, but they're going crazy over the stock market. It's like, but I think the way you're doing it is less aggressive. I believe they were talking about which stocks to pick.
Yeah.
So you don't even try to pick stocks. What's the return rate on just index fund average?
Yeah, so on average, over the course of like a 50-year time horizon on an S&P 500, you're probably going to get anywhere between like 7 and 9% annually. So that's 8% growth every single year. And so there's all kinds of research that shows that, even like professional hedge funds, so we're talking like multi-billion-dollar hedge funds, 90% of the time they fail to match the index. So, they're trying to pick all these perfect stocks, and they're trying to, not only are they trying to match the S&P 500, they're actually trying to beat it because they charge all these fees and people, take their money or they invest their money with them. So rarely can anyone actually, especially over a 5, 10, 20-year time horizon. I mean, you could beat the market, 1 year, you could have a really good year, buy Tesla 1 year kind of thing. Over a long period of time, that's going to be really, really hard to do. So it's something for people to talk about, like, oh, this stock or that stock kind of thing. For us, we're really more of like set it and forget it investors, because our focus isn't trying to find the perfect stock or the needle in the haystack. We always just try to buy the whole stack, get that market rate of return so we can be financially free, and then spend our time doing other things.
Wow, that made perfectly sense. So, all right, outside of like real estate and finances, like Allie, what do you think you're better than most people at? Like, what's your natural gift, you think? Like, like some people like just like Michael Jordan is naturally good at basketball. So I know I got you thinking. So I'm gonna ask you too, John. So what's like, because I think the reason I'm asking that question is because I think you're supposed to use that every day.
Yeah.
that gift?
That's
Or
like
try to use?
a good question and such a challenging question. What am I
But
not?
if you look at it like this, what do everybody call Allie for? Like your mom, your sister or brother, or what's something everybody call you for?
Well, I mean, so I'm a social worker, so that's kind of like a therapist. So I often think that I'm a good listener and like I'm a natural support for people, and I'm there for people that I care about when they need me. That's what I do every day when I go to work. So that is something that I think I do a lot.
Yeah, and I can tell you, so like obviously I'm married to Allie, and I can tell you that like even in moments of stress, she has a crazy ability to just stay like super stable. And even if inside she's scared and there's all these kind of crazy things going on, I think Allie's superpower is the ability to be level headed. Like I'm all over the place. I have all these different ideas. I have all these different emotions. Allie is so stable, which is what a huge reason why we've been able to do what we've been able to do.
Thank you.
I could see that. It kind of remind me of a personality like a sheriff officer. They like it could be a bank robber, but you still gotta like you can't be an emotional person and just freak out and be that type of job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think so. I mean, these are great questions. Yeah. For me, I think people come to me most when they're looking for something that's a little bit outside of the box. So, I mean, I have conversations with people all the time where maybe in their business or they're in their investing, they feel like they're not making any progress, and they're looking for a creative way to still achieve what they want to achieve, but maybe the way they're trying to achieve it right now isn't working. So because of the way that I grew up, all I've had to do, I've never had like a clear path to get to where I am today. I've always had to adapt, pivot, find a different way, but never give up on where I was. I always knew I'm going to get where I want to be, but it's going to be a very windy road to get there. And that's kind of been my life. And so I think because of that experience, people will often come to me and say, hey, Josh, I'm having a really hard time trying to figure out how I'm going to get from point A to point B. Could you give some ideas? And so kind of like an outside the box thinker, that's always been my strong suit.
I can see that. That's oh man. I was amazed by that. But so I was gonna say something. What is something that you must use every day? Like you can't live without, like a cell phone, a nanny, a housekeeper. What's something that you guys hold a close value?
Yeah, so for me, it's a calendar. we have so many things going on at one point in time, and I am like religious with I have like a color coded Google Calendar, and man, I put every single thing of my life into that Google Calendar, because if not, and it sends me like a 30-minute reminder before whatever that thing is. If not, I would forget so much stuff. So like a digital calendar is huge.
Yeah, I write everything down now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, man, no, it's only because your mind, you kind of got the same mind I got. We're always thinking. So even though like we watching TV, you probably still thinking. So it's taking up space in our brain. What about you, Allie?
kind of similarly, like my cell phone, like if I don't have my cell phone and I forget it, I actually feel like I'm naked. Like I feel totally discombobulated. I'm like, I don't have my phone. Like, how did people get places without a GPS on their phone? How did you correspond with someone, look up the hours of a store? Like, I know this is like first world problems, but I'm like, I don't know, like without my phone, that's why when we travel too, like we'll have like no phone days, like when we're on vacation and stuff. And it definitely is really nice to unplug. And there are many days when we choose to unplug, but on like a regular day when I'm working and I have things to do, like, yeah, I need my cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think your like happy spaces at? Like where's you like this where I want to be every day?
I would say two things, and I think you're gonna maybe agree with me.
Yeah.
Are like super, super happy places, 100% outdoors, but by water or in the mountains.
Yeah.
I feel like if we are by a lake, by a river, by the ocean, or like in the mountains, around nature, just super happy, right?
Yeah.
I would do that every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so where we live right now, we have a huge mountain range called the Adirondacks right by us. And so, and like 5 or 6 lakes. And so you just kind of get accustomed to it. And it's hard because, especially in the summer, we're so busy with work, we don't have as much time to really do those things. But when we do them, it's like, this is our happy place.
Yeah.
So that's a big goal for us. Like, as far as like financial independence is not, to have all this money so we could just have money.
Buy cool cars or big houses.
Yeah, it's literally just so that we can have more time to do the things and be in our happy places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to be. I love. Like, have you guys been to Tennessee yet? What part of Tennessee? Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
So it's funny you say that. I was just talking to someone on Instagram that's buying a vacation home there, and Tennessee is for sure on our bucket list. Like, we've wanted to see Nashville, and Josh's mom is obsessed with Elvis, so we want to take her to Memphis. But I've heard about Gatlinburg, and then it's just beautiful there.
Yeah, you need to go there ASAP. Like, that's like, how like I seen 3 black bears walked up on me in Tennessee. Yes, it's on YouTube. I think Georgedorealestate gets attacked by bears, something like that. But it was crazy, but it was a good experience though, and that's what we pay for. Like, me and my wife, we were talking about, like, we prayed for a good experience on the way to the trip. And all of a sudden, because when you go to the mountains, everybody like, you seen a bear? You seen a bear? It's like everybody wants to see a black bear. And I'm like, I seen one the first like 3 hours over there. It was crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, we went to Yosemite like a few years ago out in California, and like when I was researching, it's like there's mountain lions there's bears, and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, we're gonna go on these hiking trails, and a bear is gonna come, and we're gonna be those 2 hikers that got lost. But knowing me, like, we stayed on very public and populated hiking trails, so we didn't really go off-roading, so we were fine.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
We have a lot of family down in the east and west coast of Florida, so we spent a lot of time down in Florida. But there's a lot of other states, especially Tennessee, that we want to check out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. Oh, you can tell by the shirt. I did this because all my family in North Carolina, they cold. So when they watch this, I'll be like, I'll be trying to tell you to come to Florida.
Where in Florida?
Vero Beach is small city. Is probably by where you go to, like West Palm, Orlando.
So my grandparents are in Hobe Sound, which is right there.
Oh, that is right here by me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
My brother lives in Naples and Sarasota. But my grandparents live in Hobe Sound, so we literally go to Vero Beach all the time. Yeah. So that's really funny.
Normally.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is when we're down there. So she's on February
break.
I
work in the schools and we have a February break. So normally, like, if COVID wasn't a thing, we would be chilling in Florida right now. But can't. So
hey, listen. Oh man, that is kind of perfect. I met y'all.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yes. Because so many people trying to get me to do a meetup here ever since I was on the Bigger Pockets. So many people reached out around this area. I didn't even know, but I haven't did anything since COVID yet. Waiting on the world to open back up.
I know. So are we. We're ready for traveling again.
Cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. What do you think? Like, all right, it's a big difference between like the middle class and the rich. What do you think some of the things that keep families generationally stuck, even lower middle class? What do you think like could help?
Yeah.
There are so many inequities in our society. You have 1% of the world's population holding, what is it, like 90% of the wealth, right? So that is huge. And I think that we have a lot of systems that are broken and are not supporting people the way they need to. And I think generationally, we have a huge crisis in our country, and it's called financial illiteracy. People do what they know and how they are raised. And Josh grew up in poverty, and if he hadn't had a lot of other influence in his life, he may not be in the position he's in today. And I think that people are doing the best that they can, but a lot of times if we're in a bubble, a lot of times we're stuck there. And then we live in a country where they promote consumer debt and they promote all of these purchases. I mean, when we got our college degree or when we took out a $20,000 car loan, people patted us on the back. But when we wanted to invest in real estate and we're talking about retiring early, people are like, are you okay? Like, are you crazy? So I think we live in a society where we have some things twisted and it holds people back and it holds them down.
Yeah, and I would say, like, if you grew up in an environment where everyone says the world is flat, you're going to believe what everyone says because that's all you have ever known. And so for a lot of folks, like, all they know is debt, paycheck to paycheck living, and the importance of having things because somehow things equal happiness or success. And so as far as like what separates people, sometimes it's a lot of times it's values, right? And so when you start valuing your time over things, then it makes you want to do whatever you have to do to have more time to yourself so that you can do the things that inspire you the most. And so you start kind of connecting those dots and you start realizing that instead of buying things, whether it's a car or a house that's too expensive or whatever, you invest into assets, and those assets pay for the lifestyle that you want to have, and they give you back the time so that you can do what's most important.
But I also think too, and then we'll stop, I think too, like just that thought of time versus things when someone is below middle class, like in poverty, like living paycheck to paycheck, I feel like that can't even be a thought because you're trying to survive and you're trying to get your bills paid. So like that, like getting your basic needs met is right here, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like I need food, water, shelter. So what Josh is talking about is at the top of the pyramid, like that, like I want to now have things that make me money and I want to retire. Like your brain isn't even going there if you're living in this place of perpetual wondering where my next paycheck is going to come from,
Absolutely.
And that holds people down.
Yeah. So, dang. Because it's like the mindset is one part. If like right now, I guess, social media is making it easier for great information to travel fast. So a lot of kids are into stocks and real estate already, at a young age.
Yeah.
So like, what do you like the middle class? What are some things they should do instead of the negative? What are some positive things they should do in order to have a better financial circumstances?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say talking about finance, and so that's something Allie and I, we didn't really start talking about finances until probably like 4 or 5 years into our relationship. And prior to us talking about finances, I went 20 something years not really talking or fully understanding. It's still kind of like this taboo topic. We'll talk about all kinds of like crazy things in our lives, but for some reason we won't talk about finance. And so I think because there's a lot of misinformation about finance or what have you, or that it's improper to talk. And we don't have to talk about all the minutia of like investments, but I think normalizing having conversations about
money.
Yeah, I think that's a great way, especially when you have little kids, just talking and having conversations and having them be a part of that, so that, because kids are sponges, so if you have those conversations when they're little, they'll kind of grow up understanding some of the fundamentals, and then maybe, they'll pass on some of the things that end up costing people a lot of money.
And I think too, like how we're socialized, like we get presents to celebrate events, we get things to celebrate events. So right away we're teaching people like things are like what we want things that is a gift. So I think for us a big thing is we don't give gifts to each other, we give experiences. So we might go to a nice weekend away, or we might travel or do something fun together, because like our time is our most sacred thing. So I would so rather have a special memory with Josh versus like a necklace that he could buy me. Don't get me wrong, I love jewelry. Like we're not minimalists where we don't have possessions, but I think kind of like reframing that mindset of what I want out of life, because it can help put things into perspective and prevents you from getting yourself overburdened by debt and then strapped to that debt for years on end.
Wow. You know what I was thinking while y'all both was talking? Oh man, I don't know if I should say this, but I would fire all the teachers at a high school, make you two the teachers. We got class from 7:00 to 11:00 every day.
Yeah.
And the name of the course is Financial Freedom. Tell me you wouldn't take that and be that job.
Oh yeah.
It is life-changing once you realize, like, have you ever seen the movie The Matrix?
I haven't even seen The Matrix.
First of all, you have to see The Matrix. But
Right.
in The Matrix, they're like, okay, do you want a red pill or a blue pill? And based on what pill he takes, it totally determines his future. And we joke about this, and this is a common thing that people say with financial independence. But once you understand the power of financial independence and all the new possibilities it unlocks, it's like you can never see life the same way. We would never be able to go back to our frame of thinking that we had before we discovered this. So now it's like, I want to tell everyone about this because it's possible and it's cool and your life can look really different. And we're actually going to be helping out with a local high school where we are doing educational videos about finance. It's at a local school district by us where there's a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, a high dropout rate. So it's in like that at-risk area. So we're actually really excited to do that. So we will be doing some financial education videos at that high school.
And the thing is too, George, like, so a big reason we even started like the FiCouple and stuff was because like Allie and I mean, we listen to podcasts like every single week. We read the books and we hear these inspirational stories and we're like, wow, like that's so exciting. But a lot of times we weren't necessarily hearing or seeing ourselves in the people that we were listening to. Especially, I mean, there are some people that like, they're great people, but they were making like really huge incomes, or maybe they grew up in a family that did real estate, or they were fortunate not to have college loans or what have you. And we were like, that's great, but that's not us.
We're broke, we're in debt, and we know nothing about real estate, but let's do it anyway. So we didn't really hear that story a lot. Yeah. So we wanted to share that story to people and say, you don't have to come from XYZ circumstances to get into this. You can do it. Look at us.
And like when we started this interview, you were kind of like, oh, wow, like you guys don't really fit the mold. And that's really our goal, is like, we want to show, and I know it's kind of cliche, but like, if we're able to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing pretty good with so far, just about anybody can do it. And I know people come from different sets of circumstances, but like the cards were kind of stacked against us, and we're still managing to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh man. All right. What else want to say? This is kind of different from finance, but if you think about it quickly, it'll make sense. If you could if you could bring one person back from the dead, like somebody who died in your family, either before you was born or maybe when you was real young, but you heard great things about them. Is it anybody in your family like, I wish I got to spend more time with grandpa such and such, or somebody?
I actually have a thought on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my great grandfather came here from Italy. Yeah. And he could not speak any English. And I think he was a carpenter. He worked at a factory in like Virginia. And the only words he knew how to say in English, because he would go to this diner every day for lunch, he knew how to say pie and coffee. So every day he would order pie and coffee because that's all he knew how to say. But he ended up building a life here in America and, had many successful businesses and like literally came with no money in his pocket. And I feel like that's like your classic immigrant story. Like they came with nothing and, but what an incredible person. I mean, the things that I get uncomfortable over thinking about him coming to a foreign country and you have no idea what's happening. I think people that lived during that time were pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. And George, again, like, this is like an awesome question. And,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I'm right there with Allie. Like, and that's the thing is like whenever we feel like, oh man, our circumstances are so hard, all I have to do is go back like 2 generations. And my great grandfather also left Italy, it was harder when he tried to come into America in the beginning, but it was hard to get in. So first he had to go to Canada, worked in Canada, and then General Electric, which used to be the biggest company in the world, but its headquarters are in Schenectady, New York, which is not far from us. So my great grandfather left Italy, went to Canada, and then with like his last dollar basically heard about General Electric and was like, I'm gonna go to Schenectady, New York, knowing nobody and nothing, and take a chance to work there. And he did. And now multiple generations of my family are here. And like the perseverance and courage that must have took, like, yeah, to sit down and have a cup of coffee with him, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that because them people like my granddad. I thought of that question because like my granddad, he passed 4 days before I was born.
Yeah.
So I only heard things from like older people I'll be around. Man, your granddad was just like you doing this and that. And I never met him. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like crazy because they still like inside of you. Like your granddad, they probably some of their traits are inside of y'all, you know?
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're gone, but they're still here.
They're the reason we're here, right? All of their life choices eventually in some way led to us. So pretty cool.
And man, this is so good. Like that
he likes your question.
Well, no, like, because like in a way, George, like legit, like that's what it's all about, right? It's planting that garden that you might never see. And so the same way that our grandparents planted the seeds for a garden that they haven't seen, but it's given us the opportunity to be here and do what we're doing. And so right now, in this moment, Allie and we're doing all these things, yes, for us and to have a better life, but the goal is also the decisions that we're making right now will echo for generations, long after us, the same way our grandparents set us up so we could be here. And that's the powerful part of it.
Yeah.
And I got to give credit. It was it's called I Am an Athlete podcast. Come on YouTube. But the guy, he was like a financial advisor after he played in NFL. So he said the difference between low middle class, when like say you become a NBA basketball player like LeBron James. All right, so LeBron James gets millions of dollars. Usually the money is supposed to flow down to his kids. But instead, when you start from the bottom, you have to go get aunties, uncles, grandparents, all these people behind you. Instead of the money going down, it's going back up.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, that is crazy because the first thing they do when they get to the NBA, they buy their mom a house. And it's like, your parents should already have a house. It's supposed to be your kid's house, but I thought that was a good analogy,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And to some extent, it's like kind of like, there's a quote, like we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And so like, I mean, I'm never going to be LeBron James or anything like that, but a big reason too, that we're doing all of this is so that we have the time freedom, so that way we can kind of give back to our parents and help out our parents because, they did so much for us, just like our grandparents and great grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to refer this book to y'all. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there you go. All right. Y'all will like this book. I just know it. But look, all right, this book, I bought this book probably like 4 years ago, right? It say How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free.
Oh,
right?
I love
Wow.
So, but when I picked up the book, I'm like, oh, this is a perfect financial freedom book. How to live happy, wild, and free. So I think I just skimmed the book. So I get in the car, started reading it while we're traveling. It's for people when they become like 65, 60 years old and they retire and they don't have an identity no more. So it'd be like a fight. You're like, who are you? Oh, I'm a firefighter. But when you retire, a lot of people who work these jobs for 30 and 35 years, they like confused. Like they don't even know which way to go in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what's nuts about that, George? And I am loving this conversation. Josh is literally like, oh yeah, I love this, but I'm coming. So I love this because when we first discovered, when Josh first discovered financial independence a few years ago, I was a school social worker. I had my pension. I had my state benefits. I was going to work this job for the next 30 years because that's what you do, right? And Josh was like, well, Allie, if we do this, you can retire early. And what would you want to do with your time? I was only in my career at that point for 2 years, and I literally could not tell him what I would want to do with my time because I didn't know. And so much of my identity was wrapped up in school social work. I had only done it for 2 years, but I didn't even know what I would want. I'm like, I don't want to retire. What would I do? What would I do? And through this, I have discovered, wow, like school social worker does not equate to Allie. It's something that I do, but it's not who I am. And I have learned to see the beauty in detaching myself from that and all of the possibilities we could have in our life together without me working that job for 30 years.
So I'll tell you a story too. So back in 2018, prior to then, I had been in the same career for like 7 years, and I was really passionate. I started a program within a company. I grew that company. I was going to be, Grant Cardone, 10X this program, blah, blah, blah. I was working 60, 70 hours a week, so on and so forth. Anyways, unexpectedly, I get fired January of 2018. And I'll never forget this. I remember talking to Allie about it. And I had a title at a company. And I literally said to Allie, if I'm not that title at that company, what am I? So much of my identity was tied to that role, a title, a business card. And that was a real turning point in our lives where while there is value in work,
of course,
so much of our lives we're conditioned to put our value on what we do as a title, but not who we are. And so like, yeah.
Or what we like. Or what we like. I didn't even think about what I liked because I just thought about what I did every day to make money.
Well, and we're conditioned to like marry the job and date our family and passions. So much of our time is spent in work. So we just assume like that's what we like to do because that's what we do for money, right? And so if people had more time to step back, if they didn't have to work as much and they could say, well, what do I want to do with my time? I've met so many people who they're afraid to retire because they don't know who they are. So they just keep working. And that's sad to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is the only reason people do that because you're trying to fit in. Like one of the funny things I used to do, like I was a mailman for like around 6 years, right? So when I was out in my mail uniform, they'd be like, that's the mailman. I'm like, no, I'm a real estate investor with a full mailman uniform on. Yeah. Because I had started like even out of work, out of clothes, they'd be like, oh, what do you do? I'm a mailman. And it was like my identity, but that was just my job. That wasn't me. So I started like, I would get mad at myself. Like say I meet somebody and I'd be like, yeah, I'm a mailman, work at the post office. And then I leave them. I'd be like, I should have told them I'm a real estate investor. Yeah. Because that's what I really am. I'm wearing a mask, a costume, uniform for the post office, but that's what like one lady, she could have been my aunt. And she would always say like, I mean, not always say, but in Walmart one time she asked, I help her. I was like, I'm just a merchandiser. She was like, you're not just a merchandiser. Don't say that. You're more than a merchandiser. Like, I'm like trying not to help the customer. I'm like, I'm just a merchandiser. I don't work here, Right. But it was just like, whatever you're doing at the time doesn't mean that's you, that's just a job. Your purpose and your gift is what you were born to do, that's like, so never say like, I work at McDonald's. No, if you like work at McDonald's, but you're trying to build another planet, say I build planets, so people look at you weird and be like, really? And then you can sell them that deal and,
Yeah,
I love it.
I think that just like super powerful. And I think it was like Steve Harvey, you may have heard him. I think he was on Oprah and he was.
May have heard of him.
No, I mean,
Steve
like,
Harvey's kind of famous.
Hey, listen.
I mean, you may have heard him say this on Oprah.
Oh, okay.
But your skill or your job is what you're paid for, but your passion is what you're made for. Your gift.
Yeah.
And I think, but so often, yeah. And you think about like I'm in a profession where I'm always networking, and so and now being where we are today in life, how I introduce myself is a lot different. Like first and foremost, I'm a husband. I'm a husband who invests in real estate. I'm a husband who invests in real estate with his wife. And it just so happens that I also do these other professions that we do. But me 3 years ago, I had that twisted.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell a good trick y'all can do tonight. It'll be funny. Maybe not for Allie, you might not like it. But me and my wife, you know what we do? I made her write her obituary and I wrote my obituary. So it's basically saying, like, what would you want the church to say at your funeral? And I did not want it to say George Gibson worked for the post office for 42 years and didn't miss a day. I was like freaking out. Like, I don't want the post office even to be in my obituary. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we wrote them down. So then you start, because when I go to funerals, like, you know, I don't really like to, but when we go to funerals, they always say what that person did throughout their whole life. And they never mention, a lot of times they don't even mention their job. They're a father, their brother, they got kids. That's the only thing people remember about you. So it's like we put so much emphasis on stuff that they're not even gonna talk about.
Yeah.
It's so true. There's this book that I really like. I can't think of the name of it, but it tells this story, and I won't talk too long on it, but it's about this guy. He's like a CEO. He's always chasing trophies and chasing his next professional accomplishment, but he never spends time with his family. And every weekend he has to go to work, and his little kid is like, "Hey dad, I want to hang out with you." And it talks about how as a society we're kind of conditioned to like chase tokens, and once we get that raise, we want the next raise, and once we become a manager, we want to be a director, and there's all these things. But when we die, which happens to all of us, not to take it to a morbid level, but when we are not alive anymore, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to be thinking about like, man, I wish I worked another 10 years. I wish that I got that promotion. I'm going to be like, I'm going to miss the people in my life, and I'm grateful for the time I spend with them. So our like number one reason for investing in real estate, for wanting to retire early, I'm just like obsessed with this guy, and I love my family, and we want to have kids, and I want time with all of those people for as long as I'm alive. So like really, like that's it, you know? Yeah. So absolutely.
And that's where it gets important to just like know what you value most. And the cool thing is like, it doesn't have to be like that complicated. Like if you want to spend time with your family, let that be your number one value, and then go from there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say this. It's a bold prediction. When you guys have kids, Allie, you would not work for more than 365 days. Like after you have kids, you won't be working a job, a 9 to 5, no more than a year after that. So at the 2-year mark, I can guarantee you're probably gonna be, because that's what motivated me to quit my job. When I had my son, and then like my wife, I think she was like, "Oh, I think he's trying to take a step," and I'm like delivering mail. I'm like, I'm missing, you know, the moments. So it's like that's gonna motivate you guys to even go even harder, faster, you know.
Well, that's what's happening right now. Like we want to start a family, and for me, I'm like, so I'm supposed to take like a 3-month maternity leave and then send my kid to daycare every day? Like, what is that, you know? And I know that that's what people have to do, and I understand that. But if we continue to invest in real estate and we keep our cost of living super low, I could retire from my 9 to 5 in a few years, and that is time that we would never get back.
And George, you're like hitting home with me big time. Like I remember a few years ago, I used to work with these 2 younger guys, great guys, and you know, their wives had their first children, and I remember vividly sitting there. And one of the guys, it was like a late night, and his wife was like sending them photos of like, look what the baby's doing. And I remember him sitting there looking at that, and he's like, man, I wish so bad I could be there right now. And that has always stuck with me, because I'm like, I don't want to watch my baby grow up. If we're going to go through this process and we're going to raise a family, I want to raise a family. I don't want to watch my child grow up through a phone and be like, oh man, I can't be there for their first steps because I was out doing whatever I do, not who I am. I want to be a dad. And so that's a huge reason why we're doing everything right now.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate motivation, I think. Like I was coaching basketball when I was working at the post office, and all the carriers be picking on me like, how much they paying you to, you know, I'm coaching basketball for free, kids. How much they paying you to coach? I'm like, man, you don't get paid. They're like, why would you take off work to go coach basketball? Because to me, I was testing out. I know when my son started playing sports, we get off work at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and the game starting on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Like, I'm not going to even like debate whether I'm going to the game or going to work. So it was like a test. Like, they don't want you, you need to work. So that was like, man, that's crazy.
And I think that's brilliant, right? So a lot of times people go like 0 to 60, like, I'm gonna work really, really hard. I'm not gonna pursue passions, anything like that. I'm just gonna make all this money, and then I'm gonna figure out what I'm passionate about afterwards. And I'm like, and that's a quick way for people to get real kind of miserable real quick, because like they built a whole life around making all this money, and all they've been focused on is like retirement. So like the people who we learn from, similar to yourself, who I think are successful, is in the process of that, they start trying out. It's kind of like they start sampling other things to figure out when they do retire, when they are financially independent, they can do more of it, as opposed to waiting until then to try to figure it out. So I love that.
Yeah, and the best advice, the biggest test is when you're out. Like, they thought I had the baby. I was out so long for the post office. Like, they were like, you had the baby, because I was literally seeing if I could survive without the job. I started like so many businesses that fell, in that little 4-month period. But I was making money every day because, it's like just doing side jobs. I started mowing yards. I don't even know how to mow yards, but it was a test to see if I could survive. So when I went back to work, I literally worked one more year, and then that was it.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that's the perfect time to, whatever business idea you're gonna do, whenever she get pregnant and she gotta have a baby, boom, start that business. And if you can't survive,
we're doing it.
Oh, you're doing it now.
We're investing in real estate, and we want to continue to build our portfolio. Josh has been toying about getting his license. We'll see if that happens, because again, that's another job, but it could be a job that you have more control over your hours. But through the FiCouple, we have been mentoring other people that want to invest in real estate, and that is like, we're getting paid to mentor, but I would do that for free. We have so much fun. Like, I look forward to our mentor calls, and I'm like, that's how I know that's something that I should be doing, because I love it, and it puts me in a good mood the rest of the day. Every day. That is like really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard for me to hang with people who don't do that. Like, when you do that, you're gonna feel good about yourself. You know what I mean? So like, I do what I love every day. So if you like, some people haven't, like, I tell my wife all the time, some people might live a whole life, but they still ain't lived longer than Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant never worked. He would have played basketball for free.
Yeah.
So you got people that, that's just, I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep going.
No, I was going, all right, because most of my listeners are real estate investors, so they'll be mad if I didn't ask you about their real estate. Like, what's your real estate strategy?
Yeah, so right now it's house hacking. Our big thing was we had $100,000 in debt. We didn't want to have $100,000 in debt, so we bought our first house hack in 2018. That got us up to like a 55% savings rate, because it cut our housing in half. 2019, we just paid off a lot of student loans. And then in 2020, we bought our second house hack. So now all of our rentals pay for our housing.
So we invest in small multifamilies. We own 2 duplexes. So we have 4 units total, and they're like 7 houses away from each other on the same street. So those are the properties we have right now. But our goal as of right now is to accumulate probably about like 10 units total. And then we'll go from there and see how that feels, and either decide to scale or kind of keep it where we are.
Yep. So, we have the 4 right now. We're hopefully this year we'll pay off the rest of our student loans. And then after that, we'll probably just start buying a duplex,
continue investing,
another property every single year. We don't necessarily do anything too exotic. Like, we don't wholesale, we don't flip. Eventually we might try to scale up something to a little bit bigger, like a 5 or 10 unit kind of thing. But right now we're just looking for basically like base hits, because do you listen to Chad Carson at all, his podcast?
Chad Carson? No, that's a new one.
Yeah, I'll send you some of his stuff. So like Chad, now mind you, like Chad owns with his partner like 120 units. But Chad, his whole thing is go big by staying small. So instead of trying to build this crazy big portfolio, which, I mean, I've talked to people where they have this big portfolio, but now they basically just bought themselves another job, you know? So for us, it's like we want a modest portfolio that pays our bills, but doesn't, like, it's not another job, because then that defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do.
Right.
So that's really our goal for real estate.
All
right. So that was a scary moment. All right. So Josh, your real estate strategy, I think one person, he doesn't get enough credit for this, is Scott Trench in that Set for Life book, talking about the house hack. And even he went on the car hacking, like everything was a cash flow object.
Yeah.
You know, so like house hacking, I think people understand it, but once you bought it and start collecting rent from the other side and paying your mortgage, try to explain that feeling.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, until we got our first ever rent check, the only money we had ever earned was working like 50, 60 hours a week and like grinding every single week and hard work. So when we got that first rent check, like the guy came down, he introduced himself, and he gave us, it was for $750. I mean, we felt like rich.
We got that check and I was like, someone just handed me a check just to like live on the other side of my house. Like, I didn't do anything this month. I just got a check. Like, this is so cool, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And we joked too that like house hacking kind of feels like real estate with training wheels, because we're not doing anything sexy or exotic. Like, we're not doing out of state investing. We're not flipping. We're not burring. We're not doing all of these cool strategies. We're like, we needed a place to live, so we bought a place and someone rents out the other unit. Like, it is very, very basic. And even though it's basic, we were really scared to do it, you know, because it's a big leap. But once you get into it, you're like, well, you need a house and you bought one and someone's paying your rent every month. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yes. And all right, maybe you don't have to say, if you don't want to say your exact numbers, but what's a great example of the numbers part, as far as a mortgage versus the rent coming out the side? Like, what's a good deal?
Josh knows all of those numbers. Oh yeah.
So our first duplex, we paid $155,000 for it, and we used a 5% conventional loan. This was 2018, so we actually, I think the rate was like 4.8%.
Yeah, it was high.
So it was a little bit higher back then. The total mortgage was $1,384, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Plus, there's like a $40 PMI payment in there. And we inherited a tenant, so he was paying $750. So I think we went from paying like $1,200 a month in an old apartment
to
rent down to like $620 a month. And that was huge for us, right? Because now we just saved, basically $600 a month. That's $7,000 a year after tax that was back in our pockets. And that was a huge pay raise for us. And
then a year after we had that tenant, he ended up getting married and moving out. So we did some updates on the apartment. We raised the rent to $925. So now we went from paying $1,200 in rent, $600 towards our mortgage. Now we're in like that 400 range. And then by the time we got property number 2, I know we mentioned this, the cash flow from property number 1 is paying our rent for this unit. So we are, not paying housing costs right now, which is cool.
Paid to live for free. And we don't have any car payments. Both of our cars have like 120,000 miles. They're old cars. Mm-hmm. So our housing and our transportation payments are almost zero every single month, which frees up a lot of money for us, so we can pay off debt and invest more. Yeah.
We got a lot of things in common. That's scary. Well, see, my first property, I was living in one side, and it was like a guest suite on the other side. So I Airbnb that out. So it was actually going over the mortgage. I was like, no way, they not teaching this in school.
Wow.
And my mom, she's like, why don't you go be a teacher? If I can't teach about taxes, like I'm not teaching about people from 1964 about different places. Yeah. Like, these are things, some people don't even know how to get like a light bill in their name. Like tenants, trying to help tenants. They don't even know how to do it. These young people, and I'm like, this stuff they need to teach.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and I remember being in college and not understanding it at the time, but I actually had a friend who his parents bought a home when he was in college, and him and his buddies basically lived there all 4 years. And I always just thought like, all right, whatever, they just all pay rent. He probably didn't have to pay. He house hacked for 4 years in college.
And his buddies were paying his rent.
And
he didn't pay rent. I mean, he wasn't that was covering that mortgage.
100% and then some, right? And so he probably and a lot of times like room and board's one of your biggest expenses.
Absolutely.
So you know, that's absolutely right. I think yeah, I mean, there could be a real big overhaul. That's a whole conversation of like the educational system, like what we teach, but what we should be teaching. But yeah, so now
like, see, you think like me, like now if my son was like go to college and he had to live off campus, I would buy a duplex for him to live in one side, rent outside out. But I was never thinking about half of that, you know, when I went to college, and nobody told me that either, you know.
Well, and that's exactly it, right? And like they have like financial aid counselors. I don't remember getting really counseled. I remember just being a bunch of papers at 18 years old and not knowing anything about what I was signing up for. So it is what it is.
I mean, even think about this as adults. Like, we are talking as real estate investors, but like in real life, we maybe have like 2 or 3 friends like in the Capital District of New York State that we're friends with that invest in real estate. Like 90% of our friends and family thought we were crazy for investing in real estate. So like, this is something that is so powerful, but most people like don't do or don't talk about. And like, that should change. Like, more people should know about this as an opportunity, because I think it's something that's really, really cool.
And the thing is, but like those same 90% of people that we know, especially now with everything going on, like there's student loan payments, there's car payments, there's housing payments, and that causes stress and everything like that. And so every now and then when things get real bad, they'll like talk to us like, how do you guys do what you do? Da, da, da. But I mean, if more people did this, I mean, it changed our lives completely, and it has given us the opportunity to talk with cool people like you, George. And we just hope that more people, you know, learn about it or ask questions or like say like, well, why am I told I have to live life one way when I really want to live life another way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain that to people that's older. Like when I was trying to explain what I was trying to do to my coworkers who are all like 50 plus, they didn't get it. That's crazy. You got to work. You just had a son. You got to work. And it's like, oh man, it just hurt. Yeah. All right. So these are like the final questions. Just whatever comes to your mind. First thing, if you could spend a mentor with a day, who would it be?
Mentor for the day.
You know, it's probably cliche, but I'd probably go Warren Buffett, honestly. You know, I think sometimes people forget about Warren Buffett because he's getting up there in the years and he's not on social media and stuff like that. But I think I'd like to, you know, have an hour of his time and just pick his brain. I don't think he would tell me anything necessarily that I don't already know, but because everything I know, I feel like I've learned from him. But I think it would just be a really interesting conversation.
I think that I would want to meet Paula Pant in person and spend the day with her, because I think she's such a powerhouse and such a well-known, like, you know, person in this financial independence, personal finance sphere. And the fact that she's a woman in a predominantly male-dominated industry and has risen so high as she has, I think that's really incredible. So it would be cool to actually meet Paula.
All right, wait, who is Paula? Where's she from?
Paula Pant, she has the podcast Afford Anything, and she also just has done a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, she's a real estate investor. Her podcast just hit 15 million downloads, which is crazy. I mean, she invests in the stock market. I mean, she's an all around powerhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, what is something you guys learned from Scott Trench? I think I've seen you on live with him before.
Yeah.
Literally everything. Scott is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Set for Life was one of the first like big books that we resonated with and like totally changed our life. So I feel like we always say like Set for Life kind of provided a blueprint for how we wanted to create our life. It talks about cutting down those biggest line items in your budget, you know, looking at spending differently, looking at your life differently. And it really did that for us.
Yeah, it took something that seemed at the time very complex, and it broke it down into like a nice path that you can follow, and with kind of like a how-to. Because sometimes I think when people go straight to like, I need to retire in 5 years, that's really scary. But when you break it down into like, you know, how can you, you know, save more, and once you save more, how can you invest that money in a safe and kind of conservative way and stuff, and what can that make you and stuff. So it gave us the blueprint that we needed.
Okay. I'm gonna make this a little different one. Favorite real estate rehab TV show?
So it's not a TV show. Our friends Kyle and Lauren from Rentals to Wealth, they have a whole YouTube channel.
They was on the podcast. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, they do some like heavy. Kyle, I mean, I see the stuff he's doing. I'm like, I see. I'm not like a DIY guy. Like I wouldn't know how to do it. So it's not like a TV channel, but I mean, we tune into their YouTube every single week and see the stuff they're doing.
I don't think we watch like a ton of real estate TV channels. There's that one where like the couples go and buy their home and they're like, I make $10,000 a year and I'm buying $1 million home. Like sometimes those I'll see them when I'm out and about, but I don't think we really watch a lot of that. But to echo what Josh said, it's cool to listen to podcasts and see people on Instagram that are like real life real estate investors that we like know and can talk to. And like, that is a really cool community to be a part of. So we really enjoyed that.
Yeah. What's the name of YouTube? I forgot the name that quick.
Rentals to Wealth, Kyle and Lauren.
Yeah, Kyle and Lauren. They got like the perfect balance far, because he's do all the, you know, heavy duty work and she's more like finding deals and private investors, because it's so much easier with a team to do the real estate. And that's what people don't realize. You need a team to be successful. But even with property management, do you guys manage or you got property management?
Yeah.
We self-manage, but I agree with you on the team. Like, it's kind of like knowing your strengths. Like, Josh is incredible at finding the deals, and I leave that to him. And when we have renovations and things that are going on, I'm finding contractors. I'm working with the contractors. I'm actually doing some of the work myself.
Yeah.
So we kind of role reverse. I'm not as handy as Kyle. I'm not doing anything crazy, but like, we know our strengths and we play on that for sure. Yeah.
You know somebody who's really good at building teams?
Who?
Brandon Turner.
Oh my God.
I don't think he work at all. He'd be like, go there, buy that house over here, buy this trailer park.
Yeah. Well, no, and they had a podcast last night, him and David Green.
It was like an Instagram Live.
Well, it was an Instagram Live, but it was also they were interviewing for a podcast.
Okay.
But one of the things that they were talking about is how to build a team and delegate, and how hard that can be, because in the beginning, it's you, like you're doing every single thing. And at some point you do, in order for you, like there's a quote, it's like, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, build a team. So yeah, the ability to delegate. And right now, I mean, we self-manage, but there's definitely things that we don't want to do. And Allie's been great at finding contractors. So we sub out a lot of our work.
Oh yeah, we're not doing most of it, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learning how to leverage like people and digital tools.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like me and my wife, we started like, because even now, like with all the COVID, we do the pickup. She do I don't even go grocery shopping, but she do the pickup. They bring it out to you. So that's like a task. Instead of going in the grocery store with a baby and being in there for 2 hours, now you just turn that into a 15-minute, you know, you park in it. So because I started delegating, then even our Airbnb, we used to tag team. We go in there, clean up together. Now we found a couple, they actually do this for a living, and they charge us like $50 and go clean the Airbnb. So we can be traveling somewhere and the Airbnb still get clean. But somebody booked it while we was gone, but I didn't have the system set up where they fix it back up. It was just they clean the dirty stuff. So now I'm like, all right, we got to have a process for them to put new stuff on there, and then I can just keep traveling.
So,
That's awesome.
So George, what I'm telling you right now, I'm going to task you with this. You got to get a dry erase marker, because I see that erase board back there. Make yourself an organizational chart and figure out like what spots are you in, and how can you fire yourself? How can you replace yourself? Put someone else in, or sometimes something like a digital service. So that way you're the CEO of your life, of your business, and other people are doing those things so you could do whatever you want to do.
I think that's the smartest idea I had in a while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. The hardest part is getting a marker. But all right. All right, what's your book? Like, it don't have to be about real estate or finance, just a book everybody should read.
So my go-to it's called Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. It's Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez, but Vicki Robin kind of people know her for it. So basically, a lot of times as people, we think of cost in dollars and cents. That car cost, that house cost, X amount of dollars. But really, what we don't connect the dots is that money costs our time if we're working for it. And so that book was transformative for me, because it got me thinking, not how much money does that, but how much time, and not just my time, but time away from Allie, time away from my family. And so that further instilled for me, like, I don't want to trade my time for money. I want to put my money into things, assets that give me money, so my time can be my own and it can be shared with the people that I love. So Your Money or Your Life.
Got it. All right. I came up with another bonus question that is different from on my paper. So you don't have to go into detail on it, but what would the picture perfect day look like, say in 6 years from now? You got a little boy and a little girl, 3 and 4 years old. What would the perfect day look like? You're not working your jobs and you're on financial free. You're financial free now.
We are not working. We are either living, renting, whatever, a house on the water. We're sipping our morning coffee on the porch, and we have little babies playing in the sand, and our family can visit us there. And, mom and dad, me and you, we go off and we have a little mentoring session, or we do something fun with the FiCouple, and we can still be creative with that. And then we can pop back out and have a nice day together in our home and just be with the people that we care about.
Yeah. I would say like we kind of, like, when we were out in California, we had some really perfect days, and like we literally were just hanging out, and we went hiking. We were at an aquarium all day. And then this was like 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago. And we started talking about like our real estate investment goals. So we went to a Starbucks, and we had like pen and paper, and we were just writing down ideas, had our coffees for like an hour. And then we're like, all right, let's go back to adventure. So to me, like, that would be the absolute perfect day. Like, we love what we do. We don't want to just like sit on our butts all day. But being able to do whatever we want, wherever we want, with the people we love, like, that's the perfect day.
Yeah. Something you wish you knew 5 years ago.
Everything we're talking about now, I wish we started it 5 years ago, and I know we're young. Like, we talk to people that started this older than we did. We first learned about all of this. I think we bought our first property when I was 28 and you were 29.
Yeah.
And, I'm 30, Josh is 31. I know.
30.
He's turning 31 in a few months. Sorry. I'm aging you. I'm sorry. So we're both 30. I know we're still really young, right? But I'm like, I feel like we just wasted our 20s. Like, obviously we're doing something, but we were spending our money, we were drinking, we were doing whatever we were doing, but we weren't talking about money. We weren't really talking about our future. We were kind of just coasting through life, kind of a little aimlessly. And I feel like if we started what we started in our late 20s, in our mid or our early 20s, man, imagine where we'd be now. But hindsight's 2020, and we are where we are. You know what I mean?
I wish I knew what compound interest was 5 years ago. And if I knew that if I put $100 into something and that $100 would make me some amount of money, and then that new money would then make more money, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I would have started investing a lot sooner, just because like that's like free money right there.
Right.
So yeah, compound interest.
Yeah. If somebody's watching this whole episode and they ain't learned nothing, they should just go climb monkey trees or something. I don't know. All right. All right, this last question. It's like the New American Dream question, but I don't know. I've been switching everything up, so we're gonna switch that up too. What would you want? Like, if you could like have a loudspeaker to the whole world, what's a motto you would want people to live by? Maybe not the whole world, but United States.
I would say the best thing, I think that the best thing that money can buy is financial independence. You know, because there's to me there's no thing, a car, an object, or whatever, that's really going to change your life the way that not having to work for money will, and having time freedom will. So you know, the best thing your money can buy you is financial freedom.
You know what I would say?
What?
And this is not my own personal saying, obviously, but live a life by your own design and not by default. I think we are programmed, like talk about the American dream, like you get married, you get a single family home, you have kids, you work your job. We're programmed to want those things. And I think if I could shout something, it's like your life can look different, and it doesn't have to look the way society tells you that it has to look. And it could be really cool if it doesn't. So just like live your life on your own terms and follow what's true to you, you know?
Yeah, it's so funny because like a lot of older people, they be seeing me a lot more now since like I don't have a normal job, and they be like, George, what do you do? And sometimes I be asking myself what I do, you know?
Can I tell you something, George? I get this from Allie. So I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I make my own schedule and stuff. And there are so many times, like, so Allie has more of like that conventional schedule.
I'm on winter break right now, and he's chilling at like 10 a.m. at the house, like just hanging out with our cats. And I'm like, do you work? What do you do?
She's like, what do you do?
He's like,
no.
He's like, this is every day for me. I'm like, in between appointments, I can come home, I can go out, I take walks in the park. I'm like, walks in the park? I'm at school from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. What are you talking about? So yeah, I'm ready for that life where I get to take walks in the park and chill at the house. So yeah.
No, I think life is meant like that. It's like commercials on a TV show. Like, why do you have commercials? Like, your job, like the reason he don't look like he working in me, because I work like from 8 o'clock to like 12:45. But I accomplished what a person would in 10 hours because like I have it written down, everything's like boom, boom, boom. So that's one of the powers of working for yourself. Like working at the post office, I would literally be sitting on the side of the road for 2 to 3 hours a day just to make my 8 hours a day. And that's like a sad life. And people do that.
And you know what? When you are so stuck in that, it's hard to do other things. Like I mentioned, I'm on February break this week. Today, I cleaned our house. I made this really nice pot of soup and I baked some banana bread. And I'm like, can you imagine if I was at work? I don't make fancy meals because I'm so tired. I don't have the energy for anything. So I'm like, I need to retire because we would be eating better. I'd have more time for exercise, like all of these things that I'm too tired to do because I'm working all the time. I want to do that stuff. So yeah.
Very real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a quick a tip. I guess now that everybody think I got free time, you're the person they call on when anything happens. Like, oh, because you don't work, so you got time to do it now. You know what I mean?
Oh no. So maybe
don't
tell people that you have free time so that you don't become their personal
assistant.
Their personal assistant, right? Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
My brother, he got a property and I got a property. We both got like Airbnbs on our property. So his guests can't check in. He calling me. I'm like, man, I'm finna be property manager after a while. That's why I don't think like you can work a typical job if you start doing too much things outside because things pop up,
Yeah. Well, and God, you're making so many great points. Like that's just it too. Like there have been so many times where something has popped up And like Allie's at school. She can't just up and leave her job. So like there've been times like she'll say, "Oh, we need to get X, Y, and Z," or a contractor's coming at this time. Because of course contractors don't come at like after work hour. They come like, "Can I
want to come at 11:15 a.m. I'm like, "We're working, dude. What do you want?" But so Josh has to leave.
So so I'm like, "Yep, cool. I'll be there." So so I mean, I couldn't honestly, if we both had like 2 conventional jobs, that would make real estate investing, I think, a lot harder. Or like for me, like I'm looking at properties during the day, not so much now, but back in like 2019, I would meet other investors. I would network during the day, stuff like that. So like it does help if you have kind of like an unconventional schedule.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't like, my wife always joke, if you had to go back to work, man, they'll fire you. Be like, hold on, who you working for? You or us? Because
oh yeah, I'd be the
like,
worst employee.
Yeah, like even like down to like the month before I quit working, I was like, I couldn't get nothing done at work because my phone kept ringing. Like I was buying houses, selling houses as a realtor, and it was like, man, something got to give.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. No, that's awesome.
I think you made the right choice.
I'm excited to get there ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the funny part, last part, is when I went in, like, because I had been out of work for like a week, so I took the note and I handed it to the supervisor. I was like, I'm retiring. And she was like, ha, 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 go over there. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm retiring. And she was like, you serious? She opened it up, 2-week notice letter. And then so everybody kept saying, George, you quit. I'm like, no, I retired. They were like, you can't retire. You've only been here 2 years or such years. I'm like, nah, I'm retiring. So they thought it was a joke, but I was serious. Like, nah, I'm done with this.
That's awesome.
If you want to learn how, here's my number.
I don't know how. I honestly, God be good to us. You know what I mean? So people be like, how you do it? How you do it? Man, I don't know where. I don't know. You know what I mean?
No,
absolutely awesome.
Yeah. So let the people know where they can find you if they want to reach out and get some tutoring and lessons.
Absolutely. So we are active on Instagram. That's probably our biggest platform. Our handle is the FiCouple, FI. And we also have a website, the FiCouple. We have a Twitter,
the FiCouple.
The FiCouple. So you can find us on all of those, platforms to learn more and to connect with us.
All right. And I will drop it in the show notes. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun. And I really love all of the questions that you had for us. I think we've been on a lot of awesome podcasts, and a lot of podcasts ask the same questions, of course, because they're real estate podcasts. So these were like really fun and creative questions.
George,
so,
these were the best questions I've ever.
Keep it cool. Keep it cool.
I'm gonna be cool. But no,
don't embarrass.
Legit. Like these are the best. Like these are the real questions, man.
Yeah,
like damn, these are good.
Thank you for having
me. Yeah. I knew. I was like, because it was like around 2:00. I gotta sit down and write these questions down. Yeah. Because I didn't want it to be the same old typical. Because I see you guys always a lot, so I'm like, man. And I don't like hearing the same old stuff either. Like, if we had to re-record that, we have to do it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when COVID is not crazy and we're able to visit Florida, I'll connect with you because my grandparents probably live like so close to you, and we always see them. So
this is what I was about to say during the show. I forgot. I predict you guys will be buying a property down this way before the year out.
George, you don't even know. Like we literally, we have an aunt in Sarasota who she's also a realtor for like Coldwell Bank or something. And she's always showing us like on Zillow. She's like,
nice little townhomes.
Like this little condo just hit the market. But so I actually wanted to ask you. So like up here, we have duplexes everywhere. But like down in Florida, I don't think like traditional or multifamily. So like, do you guys just do like condos, Airbnbs, or what's that market like?
No, you got single family homes, condos. Like mostly the older people stay in condos like near the beach or like older communities. But it's not, you know what? The duplexes and multifamily, the prices are going for so high right now.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing about that. But compared to New York prices, it's probably still cheap. You buy a nice duplex here around like $350-$300 on the beach.
Yeah.
On the beach.
On the beach.
And it'll rent for like $1,700. East side, probably.
Oh, east side. Okay. Well, I guess that's a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we talk about that because, like, I think New York will probably always be like our home base, but like we want, especially once we're like more location independent, we want to be in Florida a lot more.
We're here because our family's here. We have all of our friends here, our family, but we are like miserable every winter.
No, but I don't mean move here. I always mean you guys got to buy properties here. I'm the real estate person around here. I get all the deals,
anything good, send it our way, you know, because you can use an FHA if it's more than 50 miles away. So
no, he can't use FHA down here, can he?
So apparently, we thought you could only have one FHA loan at a time, but if you buy a property that is 50 miles away from your current FHA property,
you can have two.
But I think you have to move to it. You have to move to it.
But and the
so
one
let's
thing,
move to Florida. We're coming down, George.
I can't remember if your work sends you 50 miles. I don't know if
there's some little fine print we need to read, but we heard that recently.
We were talking to someone about it, and we're like, yeah, you know, because like, so we're in an FHA house hack right now that we're going to try to refi in like July. So we're like, yeah, you know, you can only have one FHA. And we were talking to this woman and she was like, oh, well, did you know? And we were like, no, we did not know that.
Yeah, very interesting.
Hey, listen, we need to verify that because I refinanced my whole house to get another FHA loan. So we refinanced now. Now I got a conventional loan. Now I got an open FHA. So I'm looking for like a fourplex.
Yeah.
You know, to do something like that.
Yeah, we're looking to get out of this FHA so we can do either another house hack or probably a house hack. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see where life takes us.
You need to get a fourplex so it go quicker, and then you get your real house.
That's the thing is like we have some, but like especially
they're a lot more expensive.
And we're in like family planning mode. And the thing is, a lot of the fourplexes in our areas aren't really in good areas. Like the neighborhood we bought our duplexes in, I mean, it's like a nice neighborhood.
It's a nice neighborhood.
Everyone waves and stuff, like little kids run around. The fourplexes, like actually when we were looking at houses, I showed Allie fourplexes. And they were in some hard areas that
we got people slamming doors in our faces, and you know, murders were happening on that street. So there were some rough areas, but there are very nice fourplexes.
No, you need to look in Jupiter. Jupiter is the place to be.
All right, let's buy a Florida fourplex.
We spend in Jupiter, like
I love Jupiter. I know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me and my wife, we go to this hotel in Jupiter, like it's right on the water. Man, Jupiter is like I want to move to North Carolina, but if I have a house here, I want to have it in Jupiter. But it's like it's not that busy and it's nice.
Yeah, it really is. I like Jupiter. I think Jupiter Beach is our favorite, and we also love Bathtub Beach, but I think that's north of Jupiter.
But are you buying like $75,000 homes and stuff like that?
No, we're buying like $150,000 homes, but those are duplexes.
They were. I mean, so our first duplex right now, if it appraised, it would probably appraise. We bought it for $155. It would probably sell for $190.
In New York?
Yeah.
So we're upstate New York. People think that all New York prices are like the city. In upstate New York, you can get multifamilies in the 100 range or the 200 range.
And that's why, so there's a ton of money right now because it's
affordable. You can buy.
You could get $160,000 duplex. You get $1,000 each month on both sides. Like both of our properties are like 1.3, 1.4 rent to price ratios. And they cash flow like $400 as house hacks. If they weren't house hacks, we'd probably cash flow like $600 or $700 a month.
Yeah.
And we got colleges, we got nanotech, all kinds of stuff. But we also got snow and we got winter.
And we're over it.
And we've been in Florida. My wife I lived in North Carolina, then I moved here. But my wife, she always in Florida. So I want like my son to see snow. Like it's people here never seen snow.
Right.
So I don't know. I want to live in both places. Actually, that's my overall goal. I want to have a condo here and then have like a farm up in North Carolina.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but y'all definitely got to start buying properties here. The hot market.